So, a few days ago, I released my first ever TikTok, and it has actually since then sort of blown up, which in a way kind of means that, that's right, your boy is a TikToker. Who knows, maybe I'll even quit YouTube and start doing shit like this full time. But the real reason I bring up that video is actually this comment in particular. He makes money off of his physique. When you're working a normal job, you probably don't have enough time to achieve that. This may kind of be a big obstacle for a lot of people out there who are interested in getting started with fitness. However, there is one problem with that way of thinking, and that is that it's bullshit. I thought the exact same thing when I was younger and I was starting to get into fitness. I remember seeing guys like Ryan Reynolds or Chris Hemsworth and thinking like, that's cool and all, but they're not really that good in terms of people I want to emulate because it's unrealistic. These guys have private chefs, which make it 10 times easier to stick to their nutrition targets. These guys can work out 3 hours a day with 27 different personal trainers and do this, 7 days a week because again, it's their job. But the problem with this way of thinking, besides the fact that it's just not true, since a lot of times these guys work way more than typical 8-hour-a-day jobs, is the fact that even if all that stuff was true, it doesn't matter because it's just not necessary. In reality, when it comes to getting fit, it actually doesn't take that much time in terms of total day-to-day commitment. It takes a lot of other stuff, but notice that time, it's not one of them. So in this video, I want to do two things. Number one, I want to actually walk you through a full typical, day for me when I achieved this physique, when I was in my competition prep, the most strenuous and strict physical development period of my life. I'm going to actually walk you through hour by hour how much time I put in to my training, my nutrition, everything I did to look like that. And number two, in case time still is a big factor for you, I'm going to give you a series of tips which is going to allow you to cut your total fitness time commitment. Look, I get it. Maybe you have got a busy work schedule. Maybe you've got kids. Maybe you're like me and you have other hobbies, like standing around for 2 hours, staring at the fucking water because the fish are a piece of shit and they don't want to eat your goddamn worm. And even though you spent 7 hours watching fishing tutorials online and you spent $200 on baits and goddamn it, motherfucking piece of shit Also guys, one more thing before we get started and get into the good stuff. Just want to let you know that right now, My Protein is doing this massive sort of special sale specifically for you guys, my audience, where the first 100 people who hit the link in the description box below will get 50% off their entire order, whether it be nutrition or clothing. If you want my personal opinion, as always, I could say their Clear Whey Isolate, which is pretty much my favorite protein supplement ever. And also from a clothing standpoint, I'm a big fan, as you can clearly tell, of their new Seamless collection, especially the long sleeve. Canada has been getting a little chilly, so when I go outside for a jog, I always like to have one of these on. As always guys, link and discount code in the description box below, so check it out. So first of all, let's look at what I think a lot of you out there may think of as an expectation into what I did to achieve my competition physique. You gotta work out 7 days a week, 2 to 3 hours per workout every day in the gym. And on top of that, you're probably doing cardio all the time. We're talking pretty much half of a full-time job just dedicated to fitness. Psh, ain't nobody got time for that. However, in reality, things are very different. On average, I would say my workouts typically last anywhere from about 1 hour to maybe 1 hour and 15 minutes. And by the way, that actually includes about 10-ish minutes of stretching, mobility, and just general warm-up. The amount of workouts I do on a weekly basis differs depending on the year or depending on my goal, but specifically for that video, when I was preparing for my competition prep, I was doing a 5 days push-pull legs, upper-lower split. So 5 days a week with standard gym strength training. Now in terms of cardio, typically when I diet down, even if it's for competition prep, which is pretty much as serious as it gets for me, I don't really still do any specifically regimented cardio-like strategy. A lot of times I kind of do it sporadically throughout the week, and in many cases, it's sort of done ad hoc, especially on days when I accidentally go over my calories and I need to boost my activity level in order to bring it down. But if I had to give a number, I would probably say that on average, usually my cardio is just simply I go for a run outside. I go for a jog. I would usually do anywhere from 3 to 5 kilometers per session, and this on average would probably take me anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. And if you take this and you get the overall total, it comes out to a relatively modest, at least in my opinion, 6 to 8 hours in total on a weekly basis of everything I do in terms of training for my body, which is like, what, less than a third of the original expectation? It's not really all that much. Okay, maybe you don't train that much, but you're probably spending a crazy amount of time on nutrition. I mean, after all, abs are made in the kitchen. Man, you probably never eat out because, of course, eating out is diet-killing garbage. You probably, eat 3 meals a day. Each meal probably takes you like an hour to prepare. You gotta be doing meal prep. You gotta be spending like 4, 5, 6 hours making 17 meals for the rest of the week. I've seen those videos of Kai Green cooking 17 tons of chicken. Bro, I don't have time for any of this. Again, not really the case. Starting off with breakfast, this is a simple one. I just don't do breakfast. Oftentimes when I'm dieting, I am following an intermittent fasting protocol, which makes this very simple because the time for breakfast is 0. When it comes to lunch, a lot of times when I was working a 9 to 5 job, I would very simply either just go out and buy lunch, or I would simply eat leftovers from last night's dinner. This really makes it a lot easier because you don't have to sit there and eat some cold, crappy sandwich, which is gonna be it's not like a warm, nice home-cooked meal. Also, the macros, there's no way they're anywhere decent. You can't get that much protein eating like pastrami and cold cuts. But eating an actual home-cooked meal really makes this very easy. And also it has the benefits of having a 0 meal preparation time because you're not doing anything. You already did it yesterday. And finally for dinner, this is actually the one thing where yes, I will take some time and actually make a somewhat decent meal. Usually my total preparation time can be as little as 30 to 45 minutes, and a big reason behind this is because I eat very simple food. Especially when I was kind of living by myself and working at my typical 9 to 5 job, I would do a lot of things like make a steak on my cast iron skillet, make like fish or chicken in my air fryer. And the exact same logic applies when it comes to my side dish. I would either make regular, I prefer white cal rose rice, which I would make in my rice cooker, which is again, press a button, walk away, or I would just make potatoes in my air fryer. Again, press a button, walk away. I'm telling you right now, my physique was pretty much built on regular old eggs and oatmeal, both of which, by the way, I make in the microwave, open face sandwiches, 1 piece of bread, that way it's a little bit less carbs, easier to diet down, and then just really basic foods. We're talking chicken and rice, steak and potatoes, or like a Greek yogurt bowls. And that's pretty much it. Like these really are the absolute staples, at least for me, over like the last 8 years of my bodybuilding career. And finally, when it comes to eating out, a lot of people have this belief that you can never eat out. Guys, I will be honest with you, even up to like the week of my bodybuilding, my men's physique show, I was still probably eating out, if not every day, then at least every other day. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a good or a bad thing, but if you live in a big city like I do in Toronto, this is a relatively common thing. The main trick is to find meals at restaurants in your area which actually conform to your calorie or macronutrient goals. Obviously, this doesn't mean getting pizza or McDonald's, but in my case, things like sushi or Greek food, Chipotle, even Subway, all of these are excellent options as long as you know which meals to look for and which to avoid. But that being said, there are still some of you who are really strapped for time. And for these people, here are my VitruvianPhysique's patented, super awesome, incredible... I lost track of adjectives. Okay, here's some fitness tips to cut your time commitment. consider switching to a lower frequency training split, such as a full body split. So the thing is, when it comes to the number of times you work out per week, your overall training frequency, there's this thing called the law of diminishing returns. I may have mentioned it a few hundred times on my channel. This actually applies to frequency as well. You going from training something like 2 times per week to training 3 times per week, it's very good, and it's going to have a tangible improvement on your overall ability to, train enough, drive volume, and overall put on muscle. However, the more and more you train, that additional marginal benefit, it gets less and less, to the point where you going from training 6 days per week to training 7 days per week, it actually results in, realistically, not that much overall benefit. In fact, at that point, it actually may be a net negative because you were training too much and having insufficient amounts of time for recovery. Number 2, you need to focus on the overall quality of your reps and sets as to the quantity. Look, I understand that volume, the total number of exercises, reps, sets, how often you move in the gym, this is paramount when it comes to stimulating hypertrophy. We get that. However, you don't have to do anything crazy. A lot of times I'll see young guys see some crazy workout they see online or in the magazines that some IFBB pro does, where it's 9 exercises and it takes 2.5 hours, and they're like, well, if I want to look like him, I better do this too, when in reality, it's not necessary, it's a lot of time, and it's just downright overkill. You can go in the gym, do 4 to 5 exercises, 12 to 15 sets in total, and still get a phenomenal workout, as long as you actually focus on every single exercise as opposed to screwing around in the gym. Speaking of screwing around, don't screw around. I am telling you, the invention of smartphones and Instagram, together, those two have single-handedly reduced global workout efficiency by 40%. You finish a good hard set of an exercise and now you gotta break out the phone. You gotta slide in some girls' DMs, watch 2 YouTube videos, scroll through 5 TikToks, and before you know it, you have wasted 7 minutes and you've done diddly squat. The 2 best things you can do to actually ensure that you have a good, hard, focused workout is number 1, set your phone to airplane mode before you actually walk into the gym. And number 2, if you have a training partner, whoever you work out with, for God's sakes, make sure that they are sort of on the same page as you. You do not want to be training with someone who is a chatty Cathy who wants to gossip for 17 minutes in between every set of bench press. Okay, this next one may seem kind of weird, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be kind of taken aback by it, but bear with me. Consider doing only 1 exercise per muscle group. Now, right off the bat, I think a lot of you guys are going to think, Igor, what the hell are you talking about? Usually I'm doing at least 3, 4, 5 exercises. We're doing chest, bench press, dumbbell bench press, then we're doing some kind of machine, cables, this, that. 1 exercise per muscle group, are you out of your mind? There's no way that's enough. And normally, if you're doing a workout split, you're right. However, that is the beauty of full body workouts, because although you may only be doing 1 exercise per major muscle group, we're talking back, legs, chest, shoulders, things like that, because you're doing this multiple times per week, 3 full body workouts, although you're only doing 1 exercise, you do 3 exercises on a weekly basis. And yes, you could be doing more, and this isn't 100% optimal, but from a time-saving standpoint, this really isn't that bad, and it is absolutely enough to stimulate growth. And actually, there's sort of a little silver lining with this, a little added benefit. You see, when you do only 1 real exercise per major muscle group, you're always going to be fresh, because every time you do that exercise, it's your first and your last and your only exercise for that muscle group that day. So there's a little extra benefit to it. Now, the last thing you might be thinking is Igor, you said 1 exercise per major muscle group, but there are numerous muscle groups. I'm gonna have to do 8, 9, 10 exercises per workout. That doesn't make sense. You just said earlier, a few minutes ago, that you should only be doing something 4 or 5 exercises. What the hell? And that's true, but fortunately, there's kind of a workaround with this, and that is compound exercises. We're talking things like the bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, dips, barbell rows, pull-ups, things like that. Multi-joint, multi-muscle group exercises, which are usually involving free weights and also usually somewhat heavier. Let's be honest, you could probably lift a lot more on the deadlift than you do on like the tricep overhead extension. These are going to kind of, in a sense, allow you to multitask because they use multiple muscle groups. In a way, you're going to get like 3 for the price of 1. Take the bench press, for example. It simultaneously targets your chest, obviously, but in addition, inadvertently, it also targets your triceps and your shoulders, specifically your anterior, your front deltoids. This is a big reason why there are so many just like jacked powerlifters, guys who just do nothing but the basics, bench, squat, deadlift, and then some alternative like accessory movements, and yet somehow they have 18-inch arms even though they haven't done a bicep curl or a tricep extension in like 5 years. Okay, switching over to the nutrition side. First one, this one's kind of basic, and I already mentioned this earlier, but simply get yourself really easy set it and forget it appliances. We're talking rice cookers. We're talking air fryers. We're talking finally learn what your mom did in the kitchen when you were growing up and learn how to use an oven. All of these are going to be way simpler, in some cases faster, than you standing there. It's like that joke, that old kind of like caricature of like the pissed off housewife who's like, you come home and I've been slaving over a hot stove all day and blah, blah, blah. Well, exactly that. Don't do it. Don't slave over a hot stove. There's no need to stand there over a frying pan doing this and that. No, get yourself an air fryer for like $50 on Amazon. You throw something in there, you spend 2 seconds seasoning it, cover it like in olive oil so it gets that nice golden crispy coating. Then you turn it on for 20 minutes, go take a shower, go do some cardio, go do whatever the hell you want. Watch a video by your favorite handsome YouTuber. Anything you want. It's fast, and most importantly, it doesn't even matter if it's fast or slow because you're not doing it. It's not active cooking. You can do whatever the hell you want, and it's cooked for you. Guys, it's the 21st century. We have technology. Next up, flexible dieting. In a world where there's so many fad diets, it seems like everyone and their grandmother is on paleo, is on keto, is on Atkins, is on this, that shit that 14 new diets have been created since the start of this video. It seems like there's a lot, and all of these have restrictions on foods that you can eat or foods that you have to focus on. Don't eat carbs, eat only carbs. Don't eat fat, eat more fat, this, that. At the end of the day, look, there are a small subset of individuals, of people out there who do have specific food restrictions, but for the vast majority of us, the rest of the people watching probably this video, you and I, we can lose weight realistically eating whatever the hell we want, as long as it does 2 things. It has enough protein and it puts us into a calorie deficit. That's it! It could be eating out. It could be making a home-cooked meal at home. It could be clean, it could be not. Although if it's not, it's much less likely and much more difficult for it to actually fit in your macros. But if you somehow do it, more power to you. Besides that, you can eat whatever the hell you want. And this is going to make it so much faster and easier and just overall time efficient. Speed is the name of the game when it comes to this video, after all, to stick to your diet. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with is this one quote I heard, and it kind of stuck with me ever since. When it comes to fitness and working out, or not even fitness, anything that you do at all, whatever it is that you want to succeed at, and whatever it is that's important to you, people like to say this phrase, I don't have the time. Look, at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours, and the difference is not people who have or don't have time, it's people who make time. If it's important to you, if it's actually important, you will make the time. You, chances are, watching this video, no matter how busy you really think you are, you're probably not part of that elite 1% who's like the super mega genius surgeon by day, astrophysicist by night, who's also balancing a family with 3 kids and 2 dogs. Probably not. Look, I get it. We've got busy stuff, careers, kids, this, that. At the end of the day, I'm not saying you have to go and spend 2.5 hours working out every day. God knows I don't do it. And again, I do this at a very high level. But 45 minutes, 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week at the very most, if it's important enough for you, you'll find time. You will make time. And if you can't, well then, to be honest, it probably just wasn't all that important to you. And that's okay. You know, fitness and nutrition, maybe it's not for everyone. But if you think it's for you, and you still think simultaneously that I just don't have time, then to be blunt, you just gotta get your head out of your ass and do it.